So this lesson is about playing over a jazz blues. This is one concept that I think has really helped me. I actually struggled for a really long time trying to figure out how to play over a jazz blues because I was just never satisfied with it. I felt like everybody else sounded bluesy, and all I could do was play bebop lines over it. So after a long time of struggle, I started transcribing lots of old blues tunes and licks and different players that I liked, and I came up with this kind of idea that really ended up getting me through the problem. And that idea was something I call dominant cliches. So what are dominant cliches? Dominant cliches are my word for licks that are over dominant chords that easily describe the chord. They're short, simple, they sound bluesy, and I'm going to show you a bunch of my favorite ones, the ones that I learned that really helped me out. And then I'm going to show you how I practice them and how I use them. So let's get right into dominant cliche number one. I'm going to do all of these over an F7 chord because I'm using them over an F blues to demonstrate, like the intro of this video. Okay, so dominant cliche number one. Okay, so this starts on the third, and then it goes ninth, root, flat seven. Dominant cliche number two. This one's a little bit more of a bebop sound, but I think it really describes a dominant chord simply, and I'm pretty sure I stole it from like every bebop player ever, because like everybody plays this. It's sort of a fragment of a bebop scale. So here it is, dominant cliche number two. Starts on the root, passing tone, flat seven, ninth, 13, and then down to the fifth. Dominant cliche number three is one that I stole from a Wes Montgomery tune called Sundown. I really like this tune. The tune is in A blues, but I'm going to play the lick in F because I'm doing all these in F. So this one's from Wes Montgomery. Dominant cliche number three goes like this. So it starts on the third again. That's actually a pattern with all of these, and with the blues in general. The third is really important, so a lot of these start on the third, you're going to notice. And I always kind of aim for the third when I'm playing a blues. It's like the note that really gets you through the chord changes smoothly. So this one starts on the third, root, fifth, flat seventh. That's dominant cliche number three. Okay, dominant cliche number 4. I'm going to throw this one in because it's fairly similar to number 3, although I have no idea where I got it from. It's just something that I've been playing for a long time, and I really can't remember if I came up with it or transcribed it, but it goes like this. Again, starts on the 3rd, then goes to the 5th, root, flat 7. Okay, dominant cliche number 5. I think this is one I got from an old blues tune, but I can't remember what it's called or what it is. If anyone knows, post it in the comments, and I will thank you. But I was searching online. I could not find where I got this lick from, but it goes like this. So this one actually starts on the flat 7. 13, 5th. Oh, sorry. Root. Flat 7, 13, 5th, root. Okay, I'll do one more. This is the last dominant cliche, and then I'm going to get into how I practice these. So the last one is another really bluesy one. It only has the 3rd and the 5th. So technically this one could be used over like a major 7 chord because it doesn't have a 7th. But I found that it doesn't really work. For some reason, this lick to me really screams dominant. So I guess that's kind of interesting. It goes like this. Just 3rd, slide into the 3rd, 5th, 3rd, 5th. Okay, so those are some of my favorites. I know I left out some. I can't go through all of them because I would run out of time on this video, but I mean there's just tons of them. Yeah, I could give some more, but I'm going to stick with those for now. So on to how to practice these. The first thing I did when I started working on these to get them into my playing was I would take one of them and I would play it over every chord of the blues, and I would just try to get it through the form, just as an exercise, seeing if I could do it, like getting, playing the same exact thing over the 4 chord and then the 6 chord, and then play something over the 2 chord because it's not dominant, so it doesn't matter, and then the 5 chord, and then try to get the turnaround happening with just using dominant cliches. So I'll walk you through that with dominant cliche number 1, which was this one, if you remember. And we're going to go through the form of an F blues. So I'll do it. I'll walk you through it, and then I'll try to demonstrate it at a decent tempo. So first the 1 chord. It's F. And then this lick voice leads really nicely to the 4 chord, which is B flat. And then back to the 1 chord. And then to the 4 chord and the second 4. Then back to the 1 chord. 6 chord, which is D7. And then the 2 chord. And then the 5 chord, which is C7. And then the turnaround. 1, 6, 2, 5. And then back to the 1 chord. That's a cool turnaround, actually. I hadn't even thought of that before this. What was it? I played F, D, G minor, C7, then resolve it to the one chord at the top of the form. Okay, so I'm going to try to demonstrate that a little quicker. So here it is, F blues using dominant cliche number 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so my next step is to, well, first I'm going to do that exercise, and I practiced it with all of those cliches. After a few, it starts to get easier because you start to see the shapes, and it's just a matter of which dominant cliche you're using. But at first, it's going to take some practice to get them exactly right. You want to make it perfect. You don't want to, kind of like end your one chord cliche. You don't want it to like slip over into the 4 chord. You want them to change chords right on the bar line. It kind of has to be perfect. That's a lesson that I learned about the blues. People always say you can play anything over the blues, but I don't think it's really true. Because anytime I kind of mess up and, I do one of these too early or too late, or it's kind of on the wrong chord, or it's not like a perfect phrase over the blues, it really sounds like pretty terrible, in my opinion. So that's just my 2 cents on the blues. I think it has to be really perfect to sound good. One more thing I want to say about these before I move on to how to eventually use them. I like to practice these in as many fingerings as I can find and all over the neck. So I'll show you like a bunch of ways that I learned how to play dominant cliche number 1 again, all over the neck. I learned to play it here, like this is the 8th fret. Sorry, my guitar has no dots, so it's difficult to see, but this is the 8th fret right here. And then here. And then I can play it here. And then here. 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 Let's see. Here. And then up here. This is the 12th fret right here. 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 Might have already done that one. Anyway, you get the picture. Play it lots of places, just so that you have the fretboard mapped out. Okay, so my next and final step, well, maybe not my final step. My next step is going to be to try to play through the form of the blues and mix these up, see if you can voice lead them together, and try to play like a coherent solo as opposed to what I did before, which was just playing the same one over and over again. And I think you'll find that once you kind of start mixing and matching these over the different chords, it'll start to sound really bluesy, and it starts to sound pretty good. So I'll just attempt to do that real quick. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.